It began with a dream that didn't feel like a dream. Everything was too sharp to present. I found myself in a long hallway I'd never seen before, with stained wallpaper curling at the corners and a musty smell thick in the air. A single yellow light hung from the ceiling, flickering softly, casting shadows that shifted like they were breathing. At the far end of the hallway, there was a man. He wasn't moving. He just stood there, completely still, shrouded in the dimness, like he was waiting. I couldn't make out his face, but I could feel that he was looking at me, his stare deep and unblinking. I didn't walk toward him. I didn't move at all. I just stood frozen, caught in some silent tension that I didn't understand. When I finally woke up, the image of him stayed burned into my mind, refusing to fade like most dreams do. The next night, it happened again. Same hallway, same smell, same flickering bulb. But this time, the man was closer, just a few feet forward from where he was before. Still not close enough to see clearly, but enough that I noticed his arms hanging a little too low and his head tilted slightly to one side. I didn't know what it meant, but something about that slight movement unsettled me more than anything else. It was like he was studying me, learning me, as if he knew I'd be back. And I was. Every night. By the fourth or fifth dream, the hallway was starting to feel familiar, like a place I'd once known but couldn't remember. The man kept inching forward with each visit, never rushing, never speaking, just getting closer. One night, I noticed that the hallway had become slightly shorter, or maybe he had taken more steps than I realized. It was hard to tell, because time didn't move normally in that place. The silence there was so heavy that it made my ears ring. I wanted to scream just to break the stillness, but I never could. Some instinct told me not to make a sound. As the days passed, I began losing sleep, not because I was staying awake, but because my dreams no longer gave me rest. I would wake up drenched in sweat, my legs aching like I'd been walking all night. Sometimes my sheets were crumpled and twisted, like I'd been thrashing violently in my sleep. One morning, I found scratches on my ankle, 3 of them, shallow but fresh. I tried to tell myself I did it in my sleep, but the shape of the marks didn't match anything my fingernails could have made.
In the real world, I started seeing things. Not fully, not clearly, but enough to make my skin crawl. I'd catch glimpses of someone in mirrors, always just as I turned away. I'd hear footsteps in my apartment when no one else was home, soft and slow, like someone pacing the hallway. My friends said I looked pale. My co-workers avoided my eyes when they spoke to me. I told them I was just tired, but that word began to lose meaning. Tired wasn't enough to describe what I felt. It was like something was pressing down on my life, gradually stealing the energy from every breath I took. One night, everything changed. I didn't wake up in the hallway. I woke up in my own living room, but it wasn't really my living room. It was a dream version of it. Everything looked right, but off. The angles were wrong. The light had no source. And in the corner, where the shadows gathered thickest, he stood, the same man, now only 10 feet away from me. I could see his outline clearly now. His arms were too long, his spine slightly crooked, and his head cocked far to the left. I still couldn't see his face, but I felt his presence in my bones. He didn't speak, but I felt the message he was sending me. He was coming. Not just in dreams, he was coming here. When I woke up, I ran to the living room, heart pounding, sweat dripping from my forehead. Everything looked normal, but something had changed. On the window, written in faint condensation, were 5 long fingerprints dragging downward, like someone had been staring in from the outside. I lived on the 7th floor. There was no ledge out there, no fire escape, nothing but open air. I began locking every door, every window, every night. I covered the mirrors. I slept with the lights on, but nothing helped. He was still there, waiting. Each night, I saw more of him. In one dream, I noticed his shirt was wet, as though he'd just crawled out of a river. In another, I heard a faint sound breathing. Not mine, his. It was low, heavy, and slow, like someone trying not to be noticed. But he wanted me to notice. That was the point. He was creeping closer, piece by piece, step by step, and I couldn't stop it. The worst part was that no one believed me. I tried explaining, but it sounded insane. Who dreams of the same hallway, the same man, every single night? Who sees things in mirrors and hears breathing in their sleep? I stopped talking about it, but it didn't go away. It only got worse. Now, I sometimes find things out of place when I wake up. A chair turned toward the wall, the fridge door slightly open, the sound of running water from the bathroom, even though the tap was off. Once, I found dirt on my bedroom floor, like someone had walked in from outside. Last night, he stood just 5 feet away. I could see his chest rise and fall. I could almost hear the fabric of his silk shirt creak as he breathed. I still couldn't see his face, something always kept it obscured, but I saw his hand twitch. He was real. He was no longer part of the dream. He was part of me now. When I woke up this time, I didn't move. I couldn't. I just stared at the ceiling, paralyzed with the thought that maybe I hadn't really woken up at all. Maybe this was just the next layer. Maybe he was standing right beside my bed, watching me breathe. And maybe tonight, he'll finally reach me.